Hey everybody, James here again with you, and today I'm going to show you how to easily skin a squirrel. Now I went out this morning and got this one with my Gamo Whisper brake barrel, but other than that, most of us try to shoot them in the head, body shots. You know, it is what it is. And before I start showing you how to skin it and process it, I want to let you know that obviously the longer you wait to do this process, the animal is going to be stiffer and a lot harder to skin and process. So a lot of people get this done as soon as possible. Some do it right when they shoot them. Some wait a little bit. It just depends. And it's all on you, really. I usually wait till I get back home after a couple hours. It doesn't seem to be that bad. Again, they're a lot easier to do it as soon as they're fresh. Now, another thing I want to dabble into before I start the process and show a lot of people how it can be done, and I'm going to be using the tail pull method in this video. There's obviously a couple ways you can do it. It all leads to the same way of having it cleaned and processed, but some use catfish skinning pliers to help pull the skin off if they're really sticking on there. Good sharp knife, it doesn't matter what kind of knife, as long as it's sharp enough to cut the skin. I've been getting into these little pruner pliers that trim flowers, and then you have these bigger pruners. Some use game shears. It's whatever is easier for you, whatever you have on hand, really. If you're going to do the pull tail method, you just have to make one initial cut and then a couple cuts after that. I really try to stay away from using a knife, because if you don't get the cuts made just right, you can dull your blade if you cut right into the bone instead of cutting into the joint. So just making it easier, you can just pop the legs off. I'll show you that in a second, but the cutters, pruners, and the side cutters, scissors, whatever, are a lot easier cutting the legs off. So now with that, again, it just comes down to what you're comfortable with using and whatever you have on hand at the time you're doing it. And again, it's your choice to do it as soon as possible or wait. Again, the longer you wait, the stiffer the animal gets, because of rigor mortis set in and the skin is not wanting to be removed too easily. So now let me show you the pull tail method. Before I get started making cuts, I recommend, if you're going to do these not out in the woods, to have some bags ready, so you can put the insides and the skin in a bag and the meat in another one. So with the tail method here, hopefully you guys can hear me good. I'm wearing my mic because it is like 20 miles an hour winds today. So to get started, some people pluck the hair around underneath the tail here, as you can see, to make the initial cut. That's where the tail and the backbone join. Cut right above, you can feel it. And before you actually cut into the bone, just break the skin. You can see the backbone and the tail connect. So now, if you're going to use a knife, this is what I recommend. Twist the tail and you'll hear it. You hear it snap. And you're going to break that bone in there, so it's easier on the knife to get through. These big fox squirrels are not as easy to skin as the grays. So there you go. You make that initial slice and it all should just fall right back. Then you got in that joint. You can see in there. You want to go around the joint. You don't want to cut through the bone. You'll feel it with your knife once you pop through it. Now obviously when you get going on these, you can do it pretty quick, but for detail here, slow it down. You can see I cut through the joint. Now I'm back to the skin on the other side of the tail. Now, what I like to do is, I like to separate a little bit, give you a good flap. And if you have to, you can run your knife down the leg a little bit on both legs, about an inch or so. We're going to rinse that off, so don't worry about the hair. It's not possible to keep all the hair off of it. So hey, we got a good flap started. Go ahead and step down on it. Put your heel or boot or whatever. Just pull up. That's how you do it. So now you got it set like that. Pull the back half off. Get that skin under there, that nice flap. Start pulling the pajamas off of it. And this is where the pliers can come in handy, the catfish skinning pliers, because you're just going to rip all this stuff off. And there's his male stuff, male junk. And we're going to go ahead and clip these legs off and clip the head off. I'm going to get one bag set up here. Sometimes you probably have to step on them. Step on the tail again, pull the arms out. Okay, so it should look like that. Now you can go ahead and trim it. Trim the legs. Take your pruners. Get them right at the joint. Same thing for the back here. And all that stuff will just fall right off. There you go. Now, put that stuff in the bag. It's kind of windy, that's why I'm trying to do it. It's hard doing it when it's windy. You can get that skull pop right off there. So you can take your knife or whatever you're using, just get up in there and cut it all out. I particularly try to save my knife's edge by not cutting through bones. Even though these bones are super small, it ain't gonna matter, but at the same time, I don't want to turn around and sharpen my knife every time I clean a squirrel if I don't have to. And that's it. So now, take your knife, make your cut, feel for the rib cage right here. It's where it stops. Take your knife upside down. This is all the vital area, obviously. Make your cut. These little ribs ain't gonna really damage the knife blade there. Okay, now flip the blade over again, just like the way you went, but make sure you do not poke down inward yet. You want to keep it running along the edge. This is where the stomach and all the stuff you don't want in your meat. Okay, now we're going to go around the sack here because he's got glands and stuff in there. Cut around that. Go ahead and trim that off. Okay, now you're going to take your knife again, upside down, and go through. You'll feel the pelvic bone here. You're going to stick it in. It's going to come right out at the back side. And just pull it through. There you go. Now you run your blade along the stomach there, and all that stuff's ready to come out. Pretty simple too, so I'll show you a little trick. Let me get all this stuff picked up here for you. This wind is killing me. All right, now take your squirrel, open it up, and all you gotta do is just rake it down. Take your 2 fingers, make sure you get all the stuff at the top here free. Get all that gunk out of the top there. Okay, now you can see all that in there. Take your 2 fingers, just pull it all out. Now you can cut off the male genitals, trim it up, rinse it off, and quarter it, and do it however you want to do it, however you want to cook it up. But this is just a super basic way of skinning and processing your squirrel. Once you're doing it and get it down to however you like doing it, it becomes simple and easy. Got some fat on this squirrel. This squirrel's big. But yeah, you can see this one gave me trouble. I shot this with one of my air rifles, and I literally shot it 3 times in the head and broke its back by slinging it against a tree. I couldn't believe it, guys. You could see no bullet wounds or pellet holes in the body whatsoever. So now go inside and rinse all that meat down, get the blood out of it and the hair. And what's good is if you soak your squirrels, a little trick about it is you soak them in salt water or whatever you decide to soak them in. Some people use milk, buttermilk, whatever. And whatever hair you don't get, it'll float to the top. So there you go. Oh, and I know somebody's going to bring it up, so I might as well go ahead and just say it. So under the shoulders, there's scent glands. You can pull them out as you're trimming this up. You can see them all up in there. Just trim that out. You can pull them out with your finger or knife. Just make sure, if you don't want to eat them, that's up to you. Some people leave them in. It doesn't bother me either way. Just make sure all that's cleaned out if you decide to not eat them. But there you go. Hope this helped.